You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
And now we're joined in the studio with Katrina. So, Katrina, firstly, welcome along to the show. Thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Thank you, Daniel. It's great to be here.
So, can you tell us, or tell me, where the idea of Kent's Creative Coast campaign come from?
Well, I originally trained as a teacher of art when I left school, and I taught for 3 years at a comprehensive school in Essex. I then got the travel bug and changed my career and moved into working in the tourism industry. Firstly for a tour operator, and then for what is now called Visit London, but which was called London Tourist Board. And I lived in London and was really focused on my career and didn't have a lot of free time. But I did try and go away at least once a year with my school friends to paint, just to sort of keep in with sort of my painting skills. And I usually went to places in the north of England, like the Peak District in Derbyshire, or the Yorkshire Dales, or the Lake District. Then about 6 years ago, I moved to Whitstable and was looking for places in Kent where I could go and enjoy a short break with my friends to enjoy a creative pursuit. Yeah. And I couldn't easily find that. I couldn't find the information anywhere. And that's when I started thinking about combining my love of creative skills with my marketing and tourism background. And I came up with the idea of a creative tourism business called Escape to Create, which encourages people to visit a place to do creative things. And I started in my hometown of Whitstable, encouraging people to come and enjoy creative activities like painting, sculpture, cookery, gardening, anything that you could say is creative, and also to encourage them to stay overnight and enjoy other things that you can do in Whitstable and on the Kent coast.
So what do you mean by creative tourism, Katrina?
Well, by creative tourism, I mean that you would travel to a place where you don't know very much about. You'd meet somebody locally who had a passion for their creative skill, and that person would then show you how to do that, whether it's sculpture or painting or cooking or gardening. And the whole idea is that you're actually mixing with a local person. That person can then tell you about where they live with a great deal of kind of insider information that you wouldn't get from a guidebook or from a usual kind of website. It's not an original idea. Somebody called Greg Edwards came up with that kind of idea, and he started something called Creative New Zealand about 10 years ago. And I was looking at what he was doing. I thought that could be quite a good idea to take that into Kent.
Katrina, why do you believe creative tourism is good for Kent's coastal towns and villages?
Well, I think it's good for two reasons. Firstly, I think it provides a work opportunity for creative people like artists, like chefs, gardeners, who can pass on their skill and charge for passing on that skill. And there's, not great opportunities for employment in Kent's coastal towns and villages, and we're in recession, so I think anything that can help job creation must be a good thing. The other reason I think it's good is because it's another offer that will bring people to visit Kent's coastal towns. We've got some amazing attractions and venues in our coastal towns, places where you can go and visit and watch things like the Turner Contemporary in Margate. You can go along and see a fantastic exhibition now. But I think creative tourism is great because it's not dependent on the weather. You can do a creative activity whether it's pouring with rain or snowing. So it means that the tourism season is extended. It's a 12-month-a-year tourism season doing creative tourism. So it's providing income for accommodation, hotels, B&Bs, restaurants. So I believe it's really good for the local economy as well as for creative people.
So how do you promote Kent's creative coast?
Well, in a number of ways. I'm very, very passionate about Twitter, and I use Twitter a lot to promote Kent's Creative Coast. I tweet from, my name is Escape to Create on Twitter, and every day I will go on and talk about creative things that you can do in Kent's coastal towns, and I include towns from Dartford in the north right round to Dungeness in the southeast of Kent. So it's a really long coastline. It's actually 350 miles long. So every day I'll be talking about different creative things you can do. I'll also talk about perhaps some creative venues and what they're doing, places like Turner Contemporary, places like the Horsebridge Arts Centre in Whitstable, Polka Dot in Tainham, places in the Medway towns. So the whole idea is to try and encourage people to come to the coast to do creative and cultural things.
Do you have an example of how you've promoted the coast?
Well, one quite good example is, excuse me, last October I worked with Visit Kent, who are the organisation that encourage people to visit Kent, and Explore Kent, the organisation that encourage people to explore parts of Kent, and on a campaign called Kent Coastal Week. And that was a week-long sort of extravaganza of creative activities that people could enjoy all along Kent's coast, and the theme was the creative coast. And I organised the launch event in Whitstable Harbour over a weekend at the beginning of the Kent Coastal Week. And we had a great big marquee, lots of creative activities going on all weekend. We had music, we had poetry, we had painting, and we had people from the Creative Foundation in Folkestone and Turner Contemporary in Margate, local venues like the Horsebridge, all had stands there talking about what they did to encourage people to be creative. And over 7,000 people came over that weekend, which was really, really good, and was, resulting in lots of people then signing up to receive information from me on a regular basis about what they can do on Kent's coast.
So how is the campaign funded?
Well, it's funded really by myself and the marketing consultancy work that I do. I'm a marketing consultant, and I help destinations to promote themselves locally and internationally. So I basically fund the campaign myself, but I do also have some sponsorship from the 365 Community Photography Project, which is run by Kent Creative Arts.
Oh yeah, I interviewed them recently, actually.
Yes, you know Natalie.
Yeah, that's it, Natalie.
Yes,
yeah.
And also the University Centre Folkestone, who are part of Canterbury Christchurch University. They're sponsoring Kent's Creative Coast campaign for 3 months currently. And also Abbey Chapel, who are a small development, a property development in Faversham. They're also putting some money into the campaign. So it's not a huge budget, but every little helps.
Katrina, would you be interested in introducing creative people on the Isle of Sheppey into your campaign?
Well, yes, Daniel, I would be really interested to hear from anybody on Sheppey who is perhaps running a creative workshop, who perhaps wants to work with a local accommodation provider or accommodation providers in different coastal towns. And they can contact me through the website, kentscreativecoast.co.uk, or on Twitter, Escape to Create. My details are on the website. Yes, I mean, I really think it would be great to encourage more people to visit the Isle of Sheppey to do something creative.
So what creative activities can I or our listeners in Kent's coastal towns over the next few months to come join, that is?
Well, there's a great choice. Anything from jewellery making and painting to mosaic making, cupcake making. But a few examples. In Whitstable, for example, this weekend you could do drawing and painting from life in a hilltop studio with Colin, who runs something called Art Holidays Whitstable. Or you could do felting with somebody called Jan Lewis, who's a great felt maker, and she makes the most beautiful felted jewellery and vases, believe it or not, and bowls. You could also learn about how to etch using solar plate panels with somebody called Dawn Cole, who works from her studio in Birchington, which is near Margate. Or you could take fish cookery lessons with Mark Stubbs, who's a chef of Wheeler's Oyster restaurant in Whitstable. So they're just a very small number of things that I'd recommend you could do over the next few months. But as I say, all details are on my website.
How can people find out more about the campaign and also get in touch with you?
Well, all the information about how to get in touch with me is on my website, kentscreativecoast.co.uk. Or if you're on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at escape2create. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Katrina, I'd like to thank you very much for coming along this evening, of course, telling us all about what you do.
Thank you, Danny. I've really enjoyed it.
That's Katrina Campbell telling us all about Kent's Creative Coast here at the Monday Night Community Show.